oh, let's swim for our lives before we're able to drown. But I'm sure enough that Banjo does manage to have some fully capable of swimming abilities, because after all, that he did manage to able to let himself to become a dog paddle kind of swim technique. So, hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is I am the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here. Now I'm of course back for some more of yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Banjo-Kazooie for the Nintendo 64 / Xbox Live Arcade on the Xbox 360, Xbox One, and of course Xbox Series X or S, depending on what specific consoles you got. So, last time we have managed able to 100% for everything in terms of Mad Monster Mansion, and overall, that was actually a really good run. Despite it gets a bit long-ish kind of moments here and there, most notably for trying to able to find the rest of the stuff. And today for this episode in particular is the fact that we're going to be hit on to the forms of the 8th world in a game, which appears to be Rusty Bucket Bay. And as I said this before, ever since yesterday, this is perhaps the one of my least favorite levels in the game. I have no idea why. It's mainly because it's quite infamous for a multitude of reasons. First of all, it's the fact that you notice about the fact that the actual water we're still gonna swim onto is actually covered in oil. So this meaning about the fact that if you dare swim onto the actual water oil, your meter will start to drain. So because of that though, yeah, you don't want to let that happen, don't you? And of course, the most infamous part of them all though, it is definitely the engine section. Because of that though, we'll save that for later, because obviously we need to take care of the outside portion of this particular world first, so that way we can able to actually get some easier stuff out of the way. So, yeah, that's how it goes, basically. So, yeah, obviously today's day is, of course, the 28th of May today, in this case in 2021, and it looks like that we've only got about, like, well, let's just say, 4 days to go until whenever we approaching onto June. So because of that, though, still hyped, and you guys should probably already been hyped about this as well, especially because, you know, E3 is getting close and all that stuff. So either way, though, in fact, speaking of E3, I'm pretty darn sure that we've only got about, well, let's just say about, 2 weeks left or something. Even then, I've actually lost count on it, honestly, guys, because I know it has been quite a few days since I actually mentioned about this, but it looks like that we are having, yeah, exactly 2 weeks left until, well, specifically, 15 days, specifically, until the E3 is about to start. So because of that, though, yeah, we're actually getting really close at this point. So thankfully, no delays or anything else like that. No cancellations, aside from, physical life, but at least you can able to actually still interact with digital distribution live events, so that way you can able to actually still get hyped about this, especially how, you know, I felt incredibly bad when it comes to the forms of how lackluster last year was, because obviously we have to deal with, like, you know, Summer Game Fest and all the other stuff, as well as some alterations with certain events, which I honestly don't mind at all, but it's just that it doesn't feel quite the same way as we're usually used to, in the past anyway, so, but I digress. So yeah, for Rusty Bucket Bay, as I said this before, this world is pretty infamous for, like, multiple reasons. Is that, first of all, as I said this before, the engine room we'll get into sooner or later is quite easily the most frustrating section throughout the whole entire world. And also to top it off is the fact that, again, that if you swim on the actual oil water, then as you can tell, that you still need to rely on the air meter. As long as you weren't able to actually stand on the actual platform, maybe with like this little floaty thing right there, that as I managed to be able to obtain the yellow ginger right there. And also to top it off is that, basically, if you manage to step onto the forms of the actual box crate or something, basically what happens is the fact that the more you stay put, then you can able to regenerate your, you know, the actual, breathing meter back up. So, something to keep that in mind. So, I will say though, is that the music is quite nice though. That's the only good thing about this world. But aside from that, yeah, this is by far the hardest world in the game, and it's also it still is my least favorite world in the game because it does have some frustrating moments. Oh look, we got ourselves some sort of like a Crash Bandicoot inspired TNT crate, or to be more specifically, a boombox TNT box, to be more specifically. Although, mind you, unlike in Crash Bandicoot, that basically gets like some sort of like a countdown while the actual TNT crate is active whenever you jump on them. So because of that though, yeah, you're gonna have to avoid those boom boxes as you can see, because the more they start flashing, basically then you have to stay away from the explosion. So yeah, that's something's worth noting for. So anyways, let's go inside in here and able to obtain, well, what else? Some more musical notes here. And oh, what do we have here? We have ourselves Conker right here, which appears to be inspired by Conker's Bad Fur Day, which I'm presuming on the N64 version of Banjo-Kazooie. I'm pretty sure that Conker's design is actually almost inspired by or based off from Diddy Kong Racing or something. But as far as the Xbox 360 version is concerned, or Xbox One or Xbox Series X, depending on what specific consoles you're playing, it's always going to be Conker based off from Conker's Bad Fur Day. So yeah, you probably get the idea about the inspiration or the actual, the inspired about that specific familiar artwork. So yeah, that's something's worth noting for. So and sometimes it can be a bit confusing at times for Rusty Bucket Bay sometimes, I must admit, because whenever I managed the first time I played this world, back in the day on the N64, I have no idea where these specific musical notes are, and especially noticeable with certain objectives can be a bit complicated, and also the extra honeycomb pieces if you really want to extend your life bar by quite a lot. Although, mind you, whenever we get onto tomorrow's video, that you probably get the idea enjoying at some point. So, anyways though, but for the most part, some of these missions are quite easy. Like, for instance, you notice that we've actually bypassed these little numbered sign that we actually did manage to bypass it quite a few times. That's only because if you're trying to solve this puzzle, mainly with like, trying to get the correct code for the actual whistles, and basically that if you insert the correct number buttons that you've pressed, then you get yourselves a jiggy right in front of those 3 whistles. So yeah, pretty swell and pretty easy when you get the hang of this though. So because of this though, there are gonna be quite a few of those objectives can be a bit of a pain though. Like, to be more specifically though, that well, for instance, for example, trying to find those Jinjos can be a bit of a pain sometimes, but I'm sure we'll get the gist of it. So anyway, let's just go ahead and explore this this kitchen area. So because of that though, yeah, every once in a while there's going to be some dangerous obstacles here and there, like these hubs that are left on. So if you dare touch it, then you're obviously going to get hurt, because again, leaving these hubs on is extremely dangerous, which is especially true for hospitalities. So, and there's also the forms of the actual oven that's been left on, and it actually contains the mumbo token in the process, so we'll just obtain that. And I think we've only got about 3 more mumbo tokens left until we actually get enough by able to actually come across into, let's just say, the final transformation in the whole entire game, which we'll talk more about that once we get into the forms of tomorrow's video for sure. And especially noticeable because, after all, that we've almost nearly at the end of Banjo-Kazooie before we move on to the next set of Let's Plays in the future. So, expecting to be hyped, and also just able to be fully excited for some new Let's Plays in the future. Like, let's just say the continuation of the Wario Land series before, God knows, until Nintendo decided to make a new Wario Land game at some point, because seriously, it's been almost 13 years since the previous Wario Land game that has ever come out, which is of course Wario Land The Shake Dimension, or Wario Land Shake It in America. So yeah, I have no idea what's happening to the actual Wario Land series as of now. Especially because this is certainly the most underappreciated games I ever played. Even especially noticeable is probably one of my favorite franchises here now as well, for Wario Land games specifically. And as a result, that usually, relatively speaking, it's just the fact that, well, Well, at the time being, well, as far as I've already mentioned about this before, ever since the junior forms of Clunker's Cavern world, that basically I've now finally able to actually got the digital version of Warrior Master of Disguise. So once we're done with Warrior Land 4, at some point until next year, basically we can able to do with the obscure Warrior Master of Disguise, which yeah, that might be something worth mentioning about entering at some point in the future. And by the way, this is the hardest Grand Tour to switch in the whole game, just because you need to make yourselves a giant leaps of faith if you really want to make your way to the actual the Grand Tour switch itself, because otherwise, if you don't make it in time for that specific jump, then you're probably gonna get screwed. So yeah, and sometimes if you don't hover for flying, then basically you're probably gonna get hurt by the forms of a massive drop. So, you know, just like in Super Mario 64 basically, so. But I digress. So anyways, let's go ahead and get onto this little crane and grab the, whatever reason we just grabbed the spare gold feather in case if we're about to be using that exponentially, and we'll go up and try to push this down button by just using that move, and basically it allows the actual TNT box explodes into that specific trapped door, and basically we can now able to actually go in here. But before we do that, on the other hand though, we'll try to send those blue eggs onto these little tall holes. And basically, you have to able to feed a certain amount of those blue eggs until you're able to actually get some progressioning for certain sections of Rusty Bucket Bay for sure. And of course, we do have these returning monster-looking enemies ever since any forms of, well, let's just say ever since any Clunker's Cavern, basically. So this particular world is basically Clunker's Cavern Part 2, except the fact that this world is a lot more tough and difficult than the forms of how it does it on Clunker's Cavern. So, but the only another noticeable difference is between Clunker's Cavern and this is that we ended up on the outside as opposed to in the inside, because after all, we're not in a cavern, of course. So yeah, you probably get the gist of it. So. Anyways, let's hop into here, and basically we can able to just quickly search around, and then, well, I just get the horrible feeling that if I somehow ended up missing one of those, specific important collectibles, like, imagine if this is actually my first time I actually play the game. Well, mind you, that's not the case for this Let's Play, mind you, because I already played this game several times already on the N64 version, as well as the Xbox Live Arcade version for the sake of, like, convenience for completionist or something like that. But as far as I'm aware, then I'm actually kind of worried if I actually missing something, because if I do, thankfully I can able to jump cut until whenever I able to actually cut to a certain point, until whenever I able to find, you know, the rest of the remaining collectibles for sure, because either way though, it can be a bit of a pain, so, especially in this world's case, so. But anyways, let's go ahead and keep on grabbing all these notes, which, again, thankfully, if you ever played the Xbox 360 version of this game, basically it's the fact that you would expect that you would able to actually save your progress when it comes to, like, collecting musical notes in that version, because unlike the N64 version, as I said this before, basically, every time you die, until when we get into the forms of the engine, generator, engine room or something like that, basically, you will lose your progress on the actual musical notes collectathon, so that will be the biggest pain in the backside. So because of that, though, we'll probably will mention more about it whenever we get to that, so believe me. And of course, for whatever reason, we just got a 1-up right there for curiosity's sake, so I'm sure that's something. But, and also another thing that's worth noting for is the fact that, thankfully there's quite a few ladders in, several sections in this world, just in case you can able to actually exit out the actual, the oil water as closely as possible. So at least, thankfully, you can able to actually just, well, do that, basically. So because of that, though, yeah, there's not much right to home about. So, Now, I'm sure most people already know about the actual how infamous this world can be. In fact, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day. Have you managed to get stuck onto the forms of Rusty Bucket Bay back in the day? Or you pretty much getting used to it because obviously you've played this game loads of times already. But think about it for a moment. If you ever played this game for the first time on the N64 back in the day, then you might actually get a lot of struggles with this world. Which, even then, I would like to hear your thoughts, because back in the day, on my age, basically I did have a lot of struggles with this world for able to try to 100% for everything. Especially don't even get me started on this engine section, like, specifically when you get inside the actual, the boat ship. So, yeah, you probably know what I'm talking about, so, anyways, let's use the actual, shark jump until we're able to actually get on to... Excuse me? Oh, wait a second, because I didn't deal with you. Okay, that's fine. But at least he did manage to able to die on an explosion by himself, so that should be alright for me. And here's the next jiggy, where we're gonna have to activate the actual crane, that we need to press the up switch. And basically, it's all about a time limit, basically. So you need to be fast on it, though, because if you don't go too fast, then, well, sucks to be you, that you're probably not gonna able to get that jiggy. So, and if you don't make it in time, while the cage instantly managed to go back down, and you're probably gonna have to able to backtrack for a bit, and that's no good. Which, you probably get the idea about that. So anyways though, let's just go ahead and climb up again, so just in case if we're able to double check on the surroundings, and especially noticeable with certain collectibles I've missed, but again, if I actually missing on something, then I can just simply just jump cut, so, and then trying to able to actually just to do that in the process, which, I would imagine if we're able to actually get onto the final world in the game, because I say the final world, because, as I said this before, that we've almost nearly, that we've almost nearly at the end of Banjo-Kazooie Let's Play, and by that time until eventually later on this year, like specifically September or something, that we could possibly try to tackle through Banjo-Tooie if we got enough time. So because of that though, yeah, it should be pretty exciting. So anyway, and eventually we're able to actually now finally gonna be doing Banjo-Tooie, well, the actual Let's Play for real, because obviously 2016 and, well, technically speaking, 2017 and 2018 didn't work out very well when it comes to Banjo-Tooie Let's Play in mind, because we keep on holding up for a lot of delays in mind, but thankfully until specifically for this year, it will not be the case. So, well, a couple of exceptions, mind you, which usually happens on most days anyway. So, anyways, let's go and use this golden feathers by able to take on the forms of a big boom box. And basically, you're gonna have to get rid of those duplicates of them every time you're able to smash the bigger ones, and then eventually smaller ones, and yeah, it's a piece of cake. Especially if you manage to be able to use the gold feathers on this particular boss fight. So, yeah, that's pretty much about it. And I suppose I don't think we can able to take on even more boss fights for a little while now. So because of that though, until at the very end of the game. So because of that though, yeah, we are essentially done in that particular section down there. So again, it's pretty short, especially noticeable that I managed able to again did this the easy way by able to use the gold feathers and all that stuff. So yeah, it seems like a piece of cake, as I said. So, and thankfully we can able to grab these more gold feathers as long as we would... Oh, jeez, I wasn't paying attention. But at least we can able to meet up with this dolphin, which sadly he managed to able to got trapped into this little anchor. But, yeah, we'll try to save him, because obviously we need to get inside here to able to actually just, well, trying to able to actually get the anchor back into the forms of the actual ship itself. So, but thankfully though, as long as you need to swim fast, because again, that you do need to worry about the oil water, because again, if you somehow are drowned, jeez Louise, it hurts so much. Anyway, that's it, I'm gonna take care of you now. Especially noticeable that it doesn't help about the fact that it takes 2 hit points from if I manage to get hit by them. Oh, jeez. But anyway, let's just go ahead and grab more musical notes here. It seems that we've almost done with these musical notes already. So, but again, if I'm missing something, then, you know, you might as well jump cut. So, anyways, let's grab pound this little anchor switch. And, jeez, I couldn't imagine if he were able to actually cut through the anchor. But it's just the actual video game logic side of things. But oh well, no big deal, but at least you give us a Jiggy right here, which we'll obtain that once we get out of this room, or in this case, the inside portion of this anchor room, so at least we can expect to be the case here. But, you know, you probably get the idea of how much, how I'm not a big fan of, you know, Rusty Bucket Bay world itself. Although, again, the only redeemable quality about this world, though, to me, though, is, of course, the music. I will say the music is pretty good. But aside from that, though, I'm just not a big fan of it. So, because of, you know, although I don't mind the structure of it, like, usually it takes place in some sort of, like, a, western, well, it's not so much western, but it's more likely like a wasteland or something like that. Mainly with, it's kind of hard to explain, because I know it has been, you know, quite a while since I actually mentioned about the forms of several of, wild infos about Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that. So, yeah, I must admit that I do apologize for that, so. But I digress. And, also another thing is worth mentioning for is the fact that, I have to admit though right away, I'm actually having a hard time trying to able to discuss on other than the forms of other things worth mentioning for. Well, aside from the fact that, well, you know, with the forms of the, well, Maxi 10 version of the, his, review of, Banjo-Kazooie, specifically on the N64 version of the game, and, he did say that the visuals look absolutely like sucks, but I was like, I actually gonna disagree with you, because, well, the visuals in this game still looks really, really top-notch and amazing as well. Especially because, you know, this is on the N64 game originally, but then the game later came out on the Xbox Live Arcade for HD, renders and all that stuff. Even though despite it was actually a port to the N64 game, but regardless of such though, with this amazing gameplay and everything, but it does manage to fix a lot of issues with the original version of the game, such as, of course, every time you die you lose all of your notes count, and also you lose your progress if you're trying to grab the Jinjos or anything else like that, so yeah, you get the suggestion, so. Oh boy, we actually immediately found the actual engine room itself, which, oh boy, this is gonna be something else. Especially because I said this before, that is by far the infamous section in the whole entire game. Even for the entire world, actually. So because of that, though, yeah, expecting to believe that you're actually gonna be doing with, extra lives all up front. But, usually, relatively speaking, you're gonna die a lot, especially that you have to deal with the forms of a lot of, well, trial and error, and especially it doesn't help if you ever played the N64 version of this level. Basically, you're gonna have to keep on, you know, re-grabbing the musical notes all over again if you really want to 100% the whole entire game. So, yeah, it's definitely no fun if you're able to... What the heck? What's up with the camera angle? What? Okay, I've never actually seen this before, but apparently the camera sometimes messes me up in that little different angle of any sort. Gee, I never saw one of that before. Although, mind you though, that it almost screwed me up beyond belief, but, and also kind of annoying thing as well is that sometimes my, Samsung TV always decides to blink out for about a few seconds, and because of that, it just becomes incredibly annoying, especially if I was gonna do some harder, trickier platforming involved, and basically that the actual TV just goes like, oh, I can't handle this too much power voltage, and then they'll be like, just blink out for a moment, and because of that, that just feels incredibly annoying, so. But anyway though, I'm not gonna go into the engine section just yet, because I'm actually gonna be obtaining the extra honeycomb piece, so, and I think we've almost done in terms of the extra honeycomb pieces once we're able to grab all. Well, let's say there are about 24 of these in total, which, if I recall correctly, although I may be wrong, but, yeah, it's roughly 24 extra honeycomb pieces. So, because of that, though, yeah, we actually gained some progression for the sake of time for this point, folks. And especially noticeable that, again, that we've almost nearly at the end, so... Alright, so let's go ahead and climb up, and I get this feeling that I'm actually kind of missing something, like specifically the last Jinjo, so... And I do apologize for the actual background noise you'll be hearing. I'm guessing that Silver the Hedgehog is actually practicing his, you know, his psychokinesis again, but this time around, though, he was preparing for cooking something for tonight. So, yeah, expecting, well, at least specifically in the UK time, because compared to America and pretty much any other region out there, basically every single time zones are different. So, it makes sense. So... Oh yeah, and also another thing as well is the fact that we, well, I suppose I forgot to mention about this ever since in the, well, in Gorby's Valley, and especially noticeable in Mad Monster Mansion, basically we only got about a couple of, months to go. Well, to be more specifically, lesser than, 2 months now, or just specifically 2 months in general, that, basically, that we're able to expect to be hyped about the Tokyo 2021 Olympic Games, and during the Summer Olympics, of course. But, yeah, we'll find out during at some point in the future, so either way, though, you've probably expected by this point. And as you can see, I'm actually constantly wandering around like a moron, which I have no idea why. I'm guessing because this level will give me any bad lucks here and there. But thankfully, whenever we get on to the next world, which appears to be the final world in the game, thankfully it doesn't give me that much frustration, thankfully. Because unlike this world, on the other hand, though, it just gives me a lot of bad luck here and there. Although, usually because of this, though, obviously because this is on Friday, the 28th of May today, so expecting if I was going to come across into... Well, thankfully it's nothing like Friday the 13th, luckily, so because of that, though, yeah, I wasn't really paying that much attention to it, so... But at least, thankfully, we did manage to find the last Jinjo in this world, thankfully. So now we just need to focusing on the next thing, which is... I think we only got about 2 Jiggies left, so... And which is... I think 2 of them would actually requires us to explore the infamous engine room. Oh boy, I'm not looking forward to that. But at least we still got plenty of those musical notes left as well. So, either way though, you probably expected to see what's anything else remaining. Oh, and also the forms of the second extra honeycomb piece here and there as well. But hopefully we'll try to find out at some point if I was gonna able to explore well enough. So... Anyways though, let's keep on rolling, and then just trying to able to get some progressioning for the sake of calamity, for the sake of time here, and I don't suppose there was anything else in here. Well, I've already double checked in here, because obviously I've already collected all these items in that room, so we'll just go skip that. And I believe there was actually that little tunnel section that we can able to actually enter in. I think it's like, well, not that one, because that was a fake. Because if you see there's like a black hole you can actually went through, basically that was the one you can actually enter in. Because if it's grey, this means it'll be fake, because otherwise that the actual monster will be able to eat you up. Anyway, so let's go ahead and activate that switch to able to make those fans slow down. So because of that though, yeah, let's prepare ourselves the hardest part about the game. Which is, of course, the engine room, of course. So, you know how much most people seem to always hate that section so much. Especially how if they're able to actually have some pretty bad memories about that place. I must admit, though. So, anyways, though, so let's go ahead and, well, be prepared for this point. And then just get this section over with and done with. So, oh boy. Okay, so here's the actual engine room itself. Basically, it's going to be a lot of platforming involved, and basically, while at it, we have to go through the forms of a lot of twisty platforms, and also spinning, wheels of any sorts? Or spinning logs, rather. And as you can see, I got my luckiest, jump ever, so that's sure it's something, I suppose. And also another thing, spinning cogs, and worst of all, those fan blades. Oh god, those fan blades. If you dare touch one, if you almost nearly get close to the edge, basically you get knockback. Oh god, the knockback. I forgot to mention about that either. That it's gonna be one of those old retro video game thing when if you get hit and then knockback and hit you to like a bottomless pit down below, and it's gonna be a pain. Okay, so at least we managed to go through that just fine. And here's the 9th Jiggy over there. And the 10th and final one is, it has to be something to do with these little fan blade switches, so, oh boy. But thankfully, my notes count will be still safe, so, oh dang it, okay, come on. No! No, 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 no! Shit! Anyway, sorry about the actual language for this point, guys, because I know this part is kind of frustrating, because, again, if you fall off and die, not only does it able to actually give us some enemy respawns from time to time, but also get this, is that you're gonna have to able to reactivate certain switches again. So, yeah, I must admit though for this point, guys, I do apologize for that little, strong language here and there, because, seriously, this world does make me mad. But at least, again, whenever we get onto the final world in the game, thankfully it's a little bit more chill out, so, while it does have some pretty trickier moments still, but, at least it does have some very unique, you know, assets and all that stuff, or some specific, unique, setup, or anything else like that. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and activate, or, well, we've already activated those 2 switches for sure, and basically, if you do activate those 2 fan switches, as you can see, we do need to able to hurry up, because otherwise, if you manage to let the time run out, then the fan blades will actually reactivate from the actual boat, so, and that's where the final Jiggy was, so, there we go. We actually obtained all 10 of those Jiggies in this Rusty Bucket Bay world. Hey, that world is quite infamous, I'm telling you. It's the most infamous world. But we're not exactly done yet, because we still need to search for the extra honeycomb piece, and in addition to that, we do need to able to find the final 4 musical notes, and then once we're done with those, then basically we are done with this infamous world, which, seriously, whenever we manage to able to complete this world, I don't think I can able to touch this world ever again. Well, at least if I was gonna able to, God knows if I was gonna do a live stream or something, which I highly doubt it will not happen. But that's how it is for me. Hey, I just can't believe that engine room just decided to be able to screw me up. But I promise you guys that doing it at some point until tomorrow that I won't able to actually say that specific swear word, because I know I do apologize for that, because otherwise, well, thankfully, again, on the Xbox Live Arcade version of this game, thankfully you can able to save your progress on the notes counts you've been collected, so at least you're able to got that, so still, it just feels a bit too inconsistent. I just get the feeling that in that little hole over there, I think that's where the extra honeycomb pieces went. So, in this case, yeah, this is the area I was thinking of, so. But I highly doubt they won't be able to contain notes or anything else like that, but at least we can able to actually activate that little extra honeycomb piece switch, which I think that might be the, oh wait, that was actually the second time that's happened ever since in Gorby's Valley, so because of that though, yeah, that was the second time that we actually did manage to activate that little extra honeycomb piece switch, so, yeah, that sure is something. And unfortunately though, that I somehow managed to, well, lose a life, because I'm obviously with this stupid engine room section, because, well, that, you know, that section is frustrating. But anyways, now we got that out of the way, and, well, all we need to do now is basically we need to find the last 4 musical notes. So, yeah, I'll meet you guys back there. Okay, so I did a recent jump cut, and it turns out I didn't smash that window correctly. So because of that, though, I did manage to did this earlier, but I somehow didn't exactly got the hit of it. So, but thankfully we managed to accomplish that, so there we go. Now we can actually leave the world. Oh, jeez, man. I mean, I do like the aesthetics, but, and also the music as well, but everything else about this level, well, it's alright. I mean, the engine room is by far the most infamous, but... Hey, thank goodness we don't have to touch that world. Ever again. But anyway, now we got that out of the way, and let me double check on the forms of how much total amount of time I actually managed to waste it on. 44 minutes! Jeez, on my total game time, I somehow managed to able to waste about almost 45 minutes, because I did manage to able to jump cut the forms of a massive surge of the actual final 4 musical notes, and especially noticeable for pretty much everything, because, well, again, to me, that level kind of blows to me, but that was the only downside to that. But aside from that, you know, you get the idea. Hey, so now we're done with 8 worlds, so yeah, it looks like we are now moving on to the final world before we take on the forms of Gruntilda herself, and hopefully we'll try to save Toadie in the process. So, anyways, let's grab the next Jiggy from the likes of the Gruntilda Switch. It's actually pretty easy though to obtain that, so at least you get that. And I think we've only got about 1 more Jiggy left in terms of Gruntilda's lair. So because of this though, I think we actually got about 11 Jiggies left until we're able to get about, I would say, a grand total of 100 Jiggies throughout the whole game. So yeah, that's sure it's going to be hyped, more likely than ever will be. So anyways, let's activate the next musical note door, and basically that since we actually got enough, I think it actually requires 640 musical notes, even though I wasn't paying attention, to be honest with you. And yeah, let's go and use the gold feathers to able to get rid of those little swingy little whatever these things are. So because of that though, yeah, we're about to able to actually just proceed from here, and well, when I managed to able to play this game on for the first time on the N64 version, I was expecting if this area might be pretty useless, but it turns out it's actually going to be a part of the final world. So because of that though, yeah, we can expect this much. So now of course we still got enough musical notes to able to actually activate this next note door, then basically we can able to continue our progression. But let's not worry about that right now, just because obviously this is still going to be the 100% completion after all. So because of that, before we're able to actually just get ourselves the final Cheeto book in the game, we need to activate that Jigsaw pendulum switch, by the way, because normally if you ever experience that particular area for the first time, well, you see what I mean whenever we're able to find that specific spot. But, yeah, you probably get the idea about that, so, I think my legs are actually kind of kills me for a bit, which, after when this recording session is done, I'm also able to take a break for today, and then eventually I'm also able to carry on playing this, enjoy it at some point tomorrow, and we'll probably get the rest of this Let's Play done before we, again, whenever we move on to the next set of Let's Plays in the future. So, yeah, I'll promise you guys that will actually happen, so... Anyway, so, to get the final Cheeto book, and specifically in, yeah, were you able to actually keep on interrupting my progress there, Gruntilda? Even though we're still gonna able to stop you, no matter what. But anyway, yeah, to get the Cheeto book, in this case, Cheeto book number 3, that, we do need to find, I have no idea where that is. Can someone tell me where that is? I couldn't find it. Nah. Oh, wait. It's that little, oh, wait, I think it was actually on that staircase somewhere, which... again, I do apologize if my, gameplay footage might become a little bit more underwhelming, because otherwise I wasn't paying attention to the visual identity or something. But, we'll, try again. So because of that though, thankfully it's not too far, so because of that though, well, at least unlike the other 2 Cheeto books, that we do need to acquire a specific transformation in order to be able to find those Cheeto books. At least, thankfully, in the third and final Cheeto book. Basically, it's the fact that we do have to be normal Banjo and Kazooie. So because of that, though, no transformations required. Speaking of the transformation, though, until whenever we get onto the final world in the game, we pretty much guarantee we can able to actually just, you know, come across into the final transformation in the game. So, yeah, we can able to actually see what's gonna happen from there. So, I can't really tell. Oh, there's the staircase! There's the staircase! Oh, no, I couldn't make it! You have to be fast on this part, though, as well. So, yeah, I totally forgot about that. So, let's try this again for a third time's the charm. And hopefully we could able to potentially try to find the final Cheeto book. So, although the only thing is though, is the fact that because I was paying attention to that specific, yeah, that was my notification, jingle from my phone, by the way. I'm guessing I'm playing Sonic Boom Dash 2 at the moment, which, because basically recently, during about a few days ago, I managed to able to finally unlock the, is it the forms of the 7th character or something? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 7th character, which appears to be Vector the Crocodile, which I did manage to unlock him ever since in the actual special event, ever since about a couple of days ago. And, it's pretty easy. All you have to do is basically just defeat all sorts of enemies, and that's all you really have to do for that objective, so yeah, there's not much else to tell. So, anyways, now we finally made it to the final Cheeto book. So, in this case, we'll see what the actual final, spell we can able to actually just to, well, activate. Well, assuming if you're trying to go for the actual, you know, Treasure Trove Cove world. So, in this case, he's offering ourselves a code, which is Gold Feathers. So in this case, we now managed to able to input that specific code. Well, we'll try to do that in the extra video. I'm gonna tell you guys for that point right now. So because of that though, yeah, there's not much else to say. So anyway, now we're done with that. And now let's go ahead and, well, we're also able to actually just try to fill up the actual jigsaw pieces onto the actual, the final world's picture first, before we get onto the forms of the final world, before we get into the final frontier. So, yeah, not much else to say. I can't even believe this video is almost going to be quite long. Especially noticeable because I said this before, that most of the worlds might go a bit longer every now and then, especially with, you know, Rusty Bucket Bay is always kind of long because of, you know, you never know where certain items were. And during the course of my run-through of Mad Monster Mansion, it doesn't take me that long at points, but either way though, it knows what it is basically. So anyways, now we've actually activated the actual red quadrant, so that way we can able to teleport to the previous red quadrant a bit faster. So even then though, it's a good thing we did manage to activate that to begin with. And because of that though, that allows me to able to go back into the previous levels. Well, not for the most part. Well, it wasn't until whenever we swim in here, and because of this though, that is where the next Jiggy Pendulum was. Specifically, we can able to actually unlock this final world, which is Click Clock Wood. Now this world is actually interesting, and it's probably is without a doubt my favorite worlds in the game, just because it's all unique and everything. Especially that, we'll probably won't get into that until, you know, tomorrow and stuff, so. But first of all, Jelly Belly? Oh, at which school? Okay. Bit weird. Fleshly burst boils, her favorite smell, okay. And her old wig's favorite color is dang brown. Okay, so that seems a bit weird for that color choice, but okay. But at least we can able to grab that Mumble token, despite we actually got enough for able to actually come across into a final transformation in the game. So, yeah, I think that all goes pretty settled by then. I do apologize if my commentary gets a little bit more iffy for the most part, but it's just that there's not much else I can talk about aside from the fact that, well, I already mentioned about the forms of quite enough of Rusty Bucket Bay World itself, but yeah, that's all I can say. So anyways, let's transport back onto the same location, right here. And because of that though, suffice to say, before we end off this video, we need to make our way to the front entrance of Click Clock Wood. And because of that though, yeah, we should probably end things off at this point right here. So join me next time on Let's Play Banjo-Kazooie, is that we're going to be hitting on to the forms of my favorite world in the game, Click Clock Wood. So I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later, fellas.